Mom hasn't eaten. Can we have some old bread? The boy asked as the single dad CEO walked in. Welcome to True Soul Narratives, where every story carries a heartbeat. Love, betrayal, kindness, forgiveness, and the courage to start again. Before we start, comment below and let us know where you are watching from. Enjoy the story. Mom hasn't eaten. Can we have some old bread? The words hung in the air of the small bakery like a prayer no one wanted to answer. It was 9:47 p.m., closing time, and the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the worn linoleum floor. Sharon, the night manager, stood behind the counter with 3 large bags of day-old bread in her hands. Bread that was about to go straight into the trash. She looked down at the boy standing in front of her. 8 years old, maybe. His jacket was 2 sizes too small and stained with something that might have been mud. Might have been something worse. His hand gripped his little sister's tightly, knuckles white with the effort of holding on. The girl couldn't have been more than 5. She clutched a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days, its ear hanging by a thread. She didn't speak. She just stared up at Sharon with eyes too big for her small face, eyes that had seen too much. Mom hasn't eaten. The boy, Ethan, said it again. His voice cracked just a little. Please, we'll take anything, even the hard pieces. Sharon's jaw tightened. She wasn't a bad person. She had bills too. A mortgage. A boss who watched the cameras and called her if she gave away so much as a day-old muffin. Company policy, she said, her voice flat. I could lose my job. I'm sorry. The bread hit the trash can with a dull thud. One bag, then another. Ethan flinched like he'd been slapped. His little sister, Mia, buried her face against his side. That's when the door chimed. A man walked in, mid-30s, sharp suit that probably cost more than most people made in a month. His tie was loosened, his hair slightly messy like he'd been running his hands through it all day. Cole Bennett, he didn't look like he belonged in this part of town, in this small bakery that barely stayed open past 9. He looked exhausted. Not just tired, exhausted in a way that went deeper than a long day at the office. He stopped just inside the door. His eyes moved from Sharon to the trash can, to the little boy with the dirty jacket, to the little girl who wouldn't look up. He froze. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The hum of the refrigerator units filled the silence. Then Cole's voice cut through the tension, calm but firm. I'll buy all the day-old bread. Sharon blinked. What? All of it. Whatever you were about to throw away. I'll pay full price. Sharon hesitated. Her hand hovered over the register. She glanced at the camera in the corner, then back at Cole. That's against policy. It's supposed to be discarded. Then I'll buy it before you discard it. Cole pulled out his wallet without breaking eye contact. Name your price. Sharon's resistance crumbled. She rang up the bread. Didn't meet anyone's eyes while she did it. Cole paid cash, took the 3 bags, and turned to Ethan. The boy was staring at him with a mix of relief and suspicion. He'd learned the hard way that people who helped always wanted something in return. Here, Cole said, holding out the bags. Ethan took them slowly like he expected them to be yanked away at the last second. Thank you, Ethan whispered. His voice was small but steady. He was used to being brave, used to being the strong one. Cole crouched down to the boy's level. His expensive suit creased against the dirty floor. Where's your mom? Ethan's grip on his sister's hand tightened. At the shelter. She sent us because she thought we'd have better luck. The shelter, Cole repeated. The word tasted bitter in his mouth. Which one? St. Mary's, about 6 blocks from here. Cole stood up. His expression hadn't changed, but something shifted in his eyes. Something that looked like recognition. Like he saw himself in this little boy, trying so hard to hold his family together. Let me drive you. Ethan stepped back. We can walk. It's late. It's cold. Cole's voice was gentler now. And those bags are heavy. Before we continue with this story, if these kinds of heartwarming tales touch your soul, subscribe to True Soul Narratives. We share stories that remind us what it means to be human. Now, let's see what happens next. Ethan looked at his sister. Mia was swaying on her feet, exhausted. The stuffed rabbit dragged on the floor. He looked back at Cole, searching his face for danger. for hidden motives. All he saw was tired eyes and an expression that understood more than it should. Okay, Ethan finally said. Just to the shelter. Cole nodded. Just to the shelter. They walked out into the cold November night. Sharon watched them go through the bakery window, her hand still resting on the register. She didn't know she had just witnessed the beginning of something that would change 4 lives forever. What would you do if you saw a child asking for day-old bread? Would you help or would you walk away? Drop your answer in the comments. Cole's car was nothing like Ethan expected. Warm, quiet. It smelled like leather and coffee. The seats were swaying, and for the first time in hours, maybe days, Mia stopped shivering. She climbed into the back seat without being told, still clutching her rabbit. Ethan sat beside her, the bags of bread on his lap like precious cargo. He kept his eyes on Cole, watchful, waiting for the catch. The engine purred to life. Cole adjusted the heat, turned it up high. The awkward silence stretched between them as they pulled out of the parking lot. Streetlights flickered past the windows. The city looked different from inside a car like this. Softer, less threatening. Then Mia's small voice broke the quiet. Do you have kids? Cole's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Just for a second. His jaw clenched. Ethan saw it. The way his whole body went rigid at the question. When Cole finally answered, his voice was careful, controlled. I had a daughter. She was 6. Had, past tense. The weight of that single word filled the car like smoke. Ethan knew that weight. He'd been carrying it for 2 years. He didn't ask what happened. Didn't need to. Some things you just understood. I'm sorry, Ethan said quietly. My dad died too. Construction accident. 2 years ago. Cole glanced at him in the rearview mirror. Their eyes met for just a moment, and something passed between them. Recognition. The kind only people who've lost everything can share. Your mom, Cole said. What happened? Ethan looked down at the bread in his lap. She worked 3 jobs after Dad died, cleaning offices at night, waitressing during the day, stocking shelves on weekends. She never stopped moving, never stopped trying. His voice wavered. Then she got sick. Pneumonia, couldn't work, couldn't pay rent. We lost our apartment 4 months ago. 4 months. Cole's grip on the wheel tightened again. Where have you been staying? Shelters mostly, sometimes churches, sometimes our car until it got towed. Ethan's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Mom tells me I'm the man of the family now, that I have to be brave for Mia. You're 8 years old. You shouldn't have to be the man of anything. Ethan didn't respond. What could he say? That he agreed? That the weight of being brave was crushing him? That he was tired of pretending he wasn't scared? They pulled up to St. Mary's Shelter 15 minutes later. The building was old, brick, with a single light over the entrance. There was a small crowd gathered outside, families with nowhere else to go. Cole parked and they got out, Ethan still carrying the bread like it was gold. That's when Ethan saw her, Mom. Rebecca stood near the entrance, arms wrapped around herself against the cold. Early 30s, but exhaustion made her look older. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, her clothes clean but worn. She still had her wedding ring on. Ethan noticed because his dad's ring used to catch the light the same way. When Rebecca saw her children walking toward her with a strange man in an expensive suit, panic flashed across her face. Then she saw the bread, saw that her babies were safe. Relief and confusion mixed in her expression. Ethan ran to her, Mia followed. Rebecca dropped to her knees and pulled them both into her arms, checking them over with shaking hands. Where did you get this? Who is that man? Cole approached slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. Ma'am, I'm Cole Bennett. I saw your kids at the bakery. I just wanted to make sure they got back to you safely. Rebecca stood up, pulling her children behind her. Protective, suspicious. She'd learned to be. Thank you for helping them. We're fine now. Cole nodded, started to turn away, then stopped. The shelter's full tonight. I heard the staff telling people at the door. Rebecca's face confirmed it. We'll figure something out. We always do. There was pride in her voice. Fierce, desperate pride. The kind that comes from losing or having everything and still trying to stand tall. Cole recognized it because he'd built walls with that same pride. I have a guest house, Cole said. The words came out before he'd fully thought them through. It's empty. You and your kids could stay there tonight. Rebecca's eyes hardened. No, we don't need charity. It's not charity, it's... Cole paused, searching for the right words. I don't know what it is. We don't know you. Rebecca's voice was firm. We don't take help from strangers. That's when Ethan spoke. The words ripped out of him like they'd been trapped too long. Mom, I'm tired of being brave. The silence that followed was deafening. Rebecca looked down at her son, really looked at him, saw the exhaustion in his 8-year-old eyes, the weight he'd been carrying, the fear he'd been hiding. Her face crumbled. Mia swayed on her feet, barely able to stand. The stuffed rabbit dragged on the ground. Rebecca's hands trembled as she touched her children's faces. She looked at Cole, really looked at him for the first time, saw his wedding ring still on his finger, saw the grief in his eyes that matched her own. Just tonight, she whispered. Her voice broke on the words. Just tonight. Cole nodded. Just tonight. But they both knew, standing there in the cold outside that shelter, that nothing would be the same after tonight. The guest house sat behind Cole's main residence, connected by a stone pathway lined with solar lights that flickered on as they approached. It was beautiful. Too beautiful for people who'd been sleeping on shelter cots and church floors. Rebecca stopped walking halfway down the path, her instinct screaming at her to turn back. This was too much, too nice. Men like Cole didn't help people like her without wanting something. But then Mia stumbled, actually fell asleep standing up, her little body swaying forward. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. Rebecca saw her daughter's face, peaceful even in exhaustion, and the last of her resistance crumbled. Just tonight, she had said. Just tonight. Cole unlocked the door and gestured them inside. The moment Rebecca stepped through the threshold, she understood why he'd hesitated to offer this place. The guest house wasn't just empty. It was frozen. Frozen in time, frozen in grief. Everything was clean, dusted, but untouched. Like a museum, like a shrine. There were photos on the wall, a little girl with dark curls and Cole's eyes. Emma. Her name was probably Emma based on the crayon drawing signed with careful letters. There were toys in the corner, arranged neatly, a small bookshelf with children's books, a kitchen with a table set for 3 that had never been cleared. Cole moved through the space like a ghost, turning on lights, adjusting the thermostat. His face was carefully blank, but Rebecca saw the way his hands shook when he touched the light switch in the hallway that led to what must have been Emma's room. You can sleep in the master bedroom, Cole said, his voice hollow. There are fresh sheets in the closet. The bathroom has towels. There's food in the pantry. Help yourself to anything. Ethan was already exploring, his natural curiosity overriding his caution. Mom, look! He stood in the doorway of Emma's room. It was perfect. Pink walls with hand-painted flowers, a bed with a canopy, stuffed animals lined up on shelves, their button eyes watching, drawings taped to the walls, scenes of families and houses and sunshine. Mia woke up enough to peek into the room. Her eyes went wide. She saw the stuffed animals and her grip on her worn rabbit tightened. She looked up at Cole, then at the paws, then back at Cole. Can I hold one? Her voice was so small, so careful. Cole stood in the doorway. He didn't move, didn't breathe. Rebecca watched his face and saw the exact moment his carefully constructed dam began to crack. His eyes filled with tears he wouldn't let fall. His throat worked as he swallowed hard. She'd want someone to love them, he finally said. His voice was rough, broken. They'd been sitting on that shelf for 2 years. She'd want them to be held. Mia walked slowly into the room like she was entering a cathedral. She reached up and took down a stuffed elephant, purple with floppy ears. She hugged it to her chest alongside her rabbit. Thank you, she whispered. Cole turned away quickly. I'll be in the main house if you need anything. He was gone before Rebecca could respond, the door closing softly behind him. That night, Rebecca couldn't sleep. How could she? She lay in a bed softer than anything she'd felt in months, in a room that belonged to a dead woman, in a house owned by a grieving man who'd helped them for reasons she couldn't understand. At midnight, she gave up and went to the kitchen. Maybe some water would help. Maybe not. The kitchen light was already on in the main house. She could see it through the window. Without thinking it through, Rebecca walked across the stone pathway and knocked softly on the back door. Cole opened it immediately like he'd been standing right there. He was still in his clothes from earlier, tie gone, shirt untucked. He looked surprised to see her, then not surprised at all. Couldn't sleep either, he asked. No. He stepped aside. She came in. They sat at his kitchen table, two strangers bound by loss and circumstance. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Rebecca broke the silence. I see you're still wearing your ring, too. Cole looked down at his left hand. The gold band caught the light. Taking it off feels like losing her twice. Rebecca twisted her own ring. Holding on feels like I can't move forward. Their eyes met across the table. Understanding passed between them, deep and wordless. They were both drowning. Both barely keeping their heads above water. Both terrified that letting go of the past meant betraying everyone they'd lost. How long? Rebecca asked. 2 years, car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light. Cole's voice was flat, emotionless. He'd told this story before. My wife Sarah and my daughter Emma, gone in an instant. I'm so sorry. Your husband? Construction site collapse. Wrong place, wrong time. Rebecca's hands trembled around her water glass. He was a good man, a good father, and then he was just gone. They sat in the shared grief, in the weight of words that could never bring anyone back. The connection forming between them wasn't romantic. Not yet. It was something deeper. Recognition. Two people who understood what it meant to lose everything and still have to keep breathing. The morning came too quickly. Rebecca woke her children, packed their few belongings, and prepared to leave. Cole had been too kind. They'd overstayed their welcome. Time to go back to the shelter, to the churches, to the endless search for somewhere safe. But Ethan wasn't moving. He sat on the couch in the guest house, his arms crossed. I don't want to go. Sweetie, we can't stay here. Why not? It was the first time he'd felt safe in months. The first time he'd slept through the night without waking up afraid. Why do we have to leave? Because we don't belong here, Rebecca said, but her voice lacked conviction. That's when Cole walked in. He'd clearly made a decision. Stay, Rebecca stared at him. What? Stay? Help me run my household. It's a real job, real pay. I need someone to manage this place, to handle the things I've been ignoring for 2 years. Suspicion flared in Rebecca's eyes. Why? You don't know us. Cole met her gaze steadily. Because this house has been dead for 2 years. And you just made it feel alive again. The words hung in the air. Rebecca searched his face for lies, for hidden motives, found none. Just a broken man offering a lifeline because maybe, just maybe, they could save each other. How long? She asked. As long as you need. Rebecca looked at her children. Ethan, hopeful for the first time in forever. Mia, clutching both her rabbit and the purple elephant. She looked at Cole, at his wedding ring that matched hers, at the grief in his eyes that she understood too well. Okay, she whispered. We'll stay. 3 months changed everything. Rebecca woke up every morning in the guest house that no longer felt like a shrine. She made breakfast for her children in a kitchen that smelled like coffee and toast instead of grief. She managed Cole's household with quiet efficiency, organizing his chaotic schedule, handling repairs he'd been ignoring, bringing order to a life that had fallen apart 2 years ago. It was a real job, real pay, real dignity. Ethan and Mia were enrolled in school. Ethan's teacher called after the first week to say he was thriving, reading above grade level, making friends, smiling. Mia talked now, her small voice growing stronger every day. She still carried both her rabbit and the purple elephant everywhere, but now she laughed. Loud, joyful laughs that echoed through the house. Cole came home earlier. He'd started leaving the office at 5 instead of 8. Started asking about their day over dinner. Started smiling, really smiling. Not the polite corporate smile he wore for clients, but genuine warmth that reached his eyes. The connection between him and Rebecca grew slowly. carefully. Neither rushed it, neither named it. But it was there in the way he made her coffee without asking how she took it, in the way she left his favorite dinner in the fridge on late nights, in the shared glances across the table when the kids said something funny, in the comfortable silence that settled between them on the porch after the children went to bed. Then came the school project that changed everything. Ethan burst through the door one afternoon, his backpack bouncing against his shoulders. "Mom, Cole, look what I made!" He pulled out a large piece of construction paper covered in crayon drawings and careful lettering. The assignment was simple. Draw your hero. Ethan had drawn Cole. Not a perfect drawing, the proportions were off and the colors outside the lines, but unmistakably Cole. Standing in front of the bakery, holding bags of bread, with Ethan and Maya on either side. At the bottom, in Ethan's neatest handwriting, "He gave us more than bread. He gave us home." Cole stared at the drawing. His hands shook as he held it. His throat worked, but no words came out. His eyes filled with tears he couldn't stop. He handed the drawing carefully back to Ethan, his voice barely a whisper. "This is beautiful, buddy. Really beautiful." Then he turned and walked out of the room, fast, before anyone could see him break. Rebecca found him 10 minutes later, sitting on the back porch, his face in his hands. She sat down beside him without speaking. Just sat there, present, understanding. "I was drowning," Cole finally said. His voice was raw. "After Emma died, after Sarah, I was drowning. I went through the motions. Went to work. Came home. But I was dead inside." He looked at her, his eyes red. "You saved me as much as I helped you." Rebecca's own eyes filled. "I think we saved each other." The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. In the yard, Ethan was teaching Mia how to throw a football. Their laughter carried on the evening breeze. Cole and Rebecca sat in silence watching them. Two children who'd been hungry and homeless 3 months ago, now playing like children should. Cole looked down at his left hand, at the gold ring he had worn for 2 years after his wife died, at the symbol of a love that would always be part of him, but no longer defined him. Slowly, carefully, he slid it off his finger. Rebecca watched. Then she did the same. Her wedding ring came off for the first time since her husband's funeral. It felt strange, wrong. Then it felt like breathing after holding your breath too long. They didn't kiss. They weren't there yet. Maybe they would be one day. Maybe they wouldn't. But Cole reached over and took Rebecca's hand. She held on tight. They sat there, fingers intertwined, watching the children play, understanding that healing wasn't betrayal. That moving forward didn't mean forgetting. That love could come in different forms, in different seasons. That night they had dinner together, all 4 of them around the table in the main house, not the guest house anymore. Cole had asked them to move in last week. Rebecca had said yes. Mia, her mouth full of mashed potatoes, suddenly asked the question that hung in all their hearts. "Is this forever now?" The room went quiet. Cole and Rebecca exchanged a look. A whole conversation passed between them in that glance. Fear and hope. Uncertainty and certainty. The acknowledgement that forever was a big word, but they were willing to try on. Cole turned to the children. His voice was steady. "Sure, if you want it to be." Ethan grinned, his whole face lighting up. "Yeah, we want it to be." Mia nodded so hard her pigtails bounced. Forever. After dinner, after the children went to bed, Cole and Rebecca stood together in the living room. On the windowsill, they placed their wedding rings side by side. Not thrown away, not forgotten. Honored. Released. The gold caught the moonlight, 2 circles that represented love that had been lost but never wasted. Sometimes the people we help end up healing us. That's the truth nobody tells you about kindness. It flows both ways. It started with bread in a small bakery on a cold November night. A desperate plea from a hungry child. A man who stopped when he could have kept walking. It started with one choice to see someone else's pain and not look away. It became a family. 1 year later, there was a new photo on the mantle. 4 people dressed in their best clothes, smiling at the camera. Cole and Rebecca, hands clasped. Ethan and Mia in front, holding tight to each other and to the 2 adults who'd chosen to be their parents. In the corner of the frame, barely visible, 2 gold rings on a ribbon, honored, remembered, released. Before you go, if this story touched your heart, subscribe to True Soul Narratives. We share stories that remind us what really matters. That love can be found in the most unexpected places. That healing is possible even when it seems impossible. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever received help when you needed it most? Or maybe you've been the one to help someone when they had nowhere else to turn? Drop your story in the comments below. Sometimes sharing our experiences reminds us that we're not alone, that kindness still exists, that hope is real. What would you have done in Cole's position? Would you have stopped at that bakery? Would you have opened your home to strangers? Comment your thoughts below. This is True Soul Narratives, reminding you that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change everything. Sometimes all it takes is bread, and sometimes, if we're lucky, it becomes so much more.